It's hardly a fabrication of a marginalized contemporary editorialist that there's a suspicious partnership between the left and right in Seattle. Um, the Trumpy-tuned Putinese alliance of the socialist wing of American intelligence and the far right wing that is known as the Green Party. I say it's easy to show, and none of them have ever called for the arrest of Gail Burson. Trump and his friend Yoko Ono, or friend Sean Lennon, his friend Fripp, got a long way selling the provincial wisdom of Tony Norman and Vince Irini that Pittsburghers who grow up in the Marvins, particularly Jimmy Queries, just lie. That's just the nature of reality. I got my hands on this book, okay, and this dude in the opening preambles describes people who researched him as having trouble placing when he produced some of his Reyes pictures, for example, partly because he would predate things to put so that he could forge his pioneering identity. He put things as having been done further back in the past than they actually were. And this was coached in admissions by his biographers that they didn't really know exactly when these things happened. So Blarnestein, I mean, Yoko Ono pulls this heist by saying a sacred papist hymn of the spirit of Lenin to her flock, who's putting things together from the vibrations, from the rayism of spine tingling neon prophets like Penis Gabriel, that it didn't have to tell a white lie. Okay, and the Japanese widow has suddenly touched the sacred nerve of the black man in the Kremlinopolis. This white lie, little white lie. And they, of course, were mongering John Schulman's huge enormities. And they wanted to split hair, mince hairs, all these details. So we try to capture some facts about what happened that are not predated. They're socially accurate that I think need to be served as public reference points for what Trumpy Toon and Gabriel are pulling and have pulled with the help of Noam Chomsky and the Green Party berets. Um, Rosa Clemente, notoriously Aaron Dixon, Shifty, and the Confederates at Tacoma Community College. One of which is, well, they put a lot of things together from the fact that the coward Fripp decided not to grant me the benefit of the doubt. Now, he was already in play, and my waking up to what was going on and trying to get help sort of tampered with what they were pulling. So he needed to get inside the psyche of his golem and show um, that my letter to Leslie Katz meant that history needed to be burned, and the spirit of John Lennon was in a temper tantrum flare up, and this was cauterizing the celestial spirits of Michael Foucault and Sean Straub and all who follow Yoko Ono. So um, obviously, and Celine Dion's doing this for Las Vegas, Leslie's victory. So Yeah, they have a lot at stake in this stuff. And yeah, when I reflect where I was, um, I was trying to figure out what was going on, you know. Well, they were graffitiing things with their power system. And I was living below the poverty line, of course, in Pittsburgh. And I came in contact with some people from Carnegie Mellon and people who had lived in Hell House, which was sort of a down and outer for teenage homeless kids, and was trying to escape the um, burnout faction of adults who were really cruel to me as a child without necessarily breaking from, you know, the bums who might enjoy my poetry pamphlets or contribute a poem or something. Yeah, people who ingratiated me into their art community and yet at the same time hate me. I mean, they might collect my stuff, but it's inescapable that they hate me. I don't really understand any of it. It's sort of hard to put together, but I did get the idea that this, after discovering Gail Burson's performance art for John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and her friend Ian McDonald helped put this showpiece together. Um, I did put together the couch was supposedly the indignant spirit of John Lennon arisen, and that Tony Norman and Vince Irene were telling everybody what the real truth was about Jimmy Curry and his imitations of Brecker. They didn't say how it was in Jewish induced neurotrauma assimilated Holocaust experiment, wandering around in a very nightmarish trance, trying to comprehend the depths of the Jewish experience in my soul, because that wouldn't fit the production angle. So we won't go that way. But what we do know is that they made Neva Corporation tapes of Andrea Swimmer and other people working with Mancini. And Yusu Endur was extruding these things for New York Syndicate with Ono, high finance syndicate, protecting the control of people behind the peace Flame Over Africa, which is an environmental modifications convention violation idea that we're now seeing come true. And to promote Will Zell, who extolled Goebbels and worked as a mouse cage assembler for an immunogenetics laboratory. Will Zell was in the Gurdjieff Club with Walter Hodorowski, who I met through Robert Fripp of King Crimson. He was supposedly the spirit of the Jewish Defense League. Remember, he was promoting Goebbels, but Leslie Katz was the spirit of Lenin, and Lenin's spirit for its temper tantrum needed a real live white Nazi for the Jewish Defense League. So, and this is the truth. Now, Hodorowski brought me in contact with, I was living with Hodorowski when John Stockwell of the CIA showed up, right after Penny from Oxford approached me about the day the earth stood still and then Wall Street crashed. He showed up on my birthday. Hodorowski also introduced me to Jim Hagerman, who said to me, "It's widely believed in the Pentagon that the earth just isn't going to make it." When I said, "Why don't you guys do something? Why don't you try something? Why don't you try to figure out how to make a contribution to global ecology?" He said, "Who cares? I've lived a good life." So Fripp was being protect, and he had Endor come prancing and hollering to protect the guy from Flame Over Africa who held me hostage because they were on about white lies. And Fripp Toon was bringing me in contact with people, friends of Zell, the sacred owner, warrior of African swastikas, protecting Leslie Katz for Las Vegas. That'll be love. Oh, Las Vegas, Leslie's victory. You know, and this was all tied to Tammo DeJong, Judith DeJong, and Elizabeth Banwell. And Wispansky Wiswell was at that bank where Weinstein's used to be in Pittsburgh, next to where the Andrea swimmer was living. She had Peter Shell bring me over, and she looked at me and she said, "That's the one. That's the one who tried to help you. Who your matron used to come over on Christmas." Um, Apparently, that wasn't the one after all. It was the one who Peter Schultz's roommate Todd Kaufman brought in touch with the cover girl from Hypatia Feminist Philosophy Journal, who was a friend of John Eskridge, a friend of my mother, who, like her matron, who took me to Washington, D.C. to hear T. Simon Ferrasani speak. Ferrasani, sanitation, fair, take quid pro quo for two virgins, pussy ball. T. Simon was the aquiline nosed, jet set Jewish girl from Sounds True Studios in Colorado who met with the Dalai Lama and who was introduced to me by Leslie Katz, the androgynous woman. And the Dalai Lama also met with our honors department who know about the Peter Gabriel correspondence and how it was set up by Rosa Clemente and Rosa Montaglione for the Green Party. Attacked in the neuroplastic implant. Well, Artek was working at that college. And Ross Cronenbitter from that CMU crowd knows that Angela in Seattle introduced me to this whole crowd when I worked at National Health and Nutrition's. And some guy, sort of a Reagan type guy, showed up as though to speak to you thusly, complaining that the yogurt machine had a higher portion tested of amoeba or something. So, yeah, Angela, I ran into her at the Dalai Lama too. So the Dalai Lama is a factor in all of this ethereal mysticism about the UN's peace ambassador, Midori Goto, who's the ringleader of Two Virgins, Pussy Ball, and Ringo Starr's claim that he had a battle axe to wield in the name of the spirit of Lenin. And of course, I wanted to believe that some mistake had been made. Surely you don't understand what really happened. I was in a Holocaust trance. I was gentle with Leslie Katz. Surely you don't understand what. And they had me, arguing for Rosa to come back, and Ringo really got his goat. They were laughing. They never got my goat. They finally got my goat to try to stop them from murdering bystanders. I said, okay, I realize now that you need a threat. So I showed somebody something I penned up anger to us and anger management. They said, a threat. We finally got him to make a threat. Whoa, so it's all justified. This is Ringo Starr's mentality through the whole thing. And of course, I was thinking, there must be some mistake, but of course there wasn't. We know now from COVID-19 that there was no mistake. They were just stalling. They put it together an arc of fascist symbols from every color. So, they seem to be selling. I mean, you can go into the background of like Tony DiCicci, who built the Arc Artec at WQED. He built the Indian Parliament from bricks. He knew Louis Kahn. He locked me in a house from the inside with that kid Casper, who attacked me, tortured me, gassed me, kidnapped me, and stolen cars as a child. The one that Gabriel was advocating for, the way he advocated for Shulman, for Flame Over Africa, and for Jim Hagerman, and all of the other people who the big wheels advocated for, because they couldn't give me the benefit of the doubt at all for anything. So, and his involvement with Fluid, who knew Marslak and Ostro, there was a rhino in Fluid, which is interesting if you look at Salk research, because rhinoviruses is sort of the family of the LAV, HIV, HTLV3, it was in Fluid. So, and these were the people who gave me the liquid crystal thing that whacked the Sarans. I love Saran, 1966 picture people. So who were Mendel Silverman, who said, Lance, my penis, because he said it was small. Sidney Buses, who he told, thanks again, Red, best regards, Cindy said, I think, but he was like, we are unable to get reliable, pure tone results. And of course, Dee Dee had already lost some Jenny. Coal Hollow Road has a Kennedy shooting gallery and stuff, Hollow Wood music, and, this quest for the herb, the golden grail of virginity, which Richard Rougeau brought full circle for Ruthless Hammer and the Myrons. So you get the idea of how they operate, So, but the basic ideas were what the station, like that's the sort of gig that the man who forgave all the racists but came down on the little white lie. Yusuf has in mind, after they wipe out the masses, there will be a herald. Rwanda is now the place of paradise in Africa. There's a lot of things. It's like redeeming King Leopold for Queen Elizabeth and Peter Gabriel and the other people. That's Judd said, because everybody wants to dance with Mick Jagger or something. It's a crummy payload of BS. I don't know what to say about it. If they would just give me the benefit of the doubt, I would have talked ecology and apprehension of the guilty, and they didn't want to do that, because they had this plan it, and I'm not into it, like I've said, take my name off it, and I'm going to court because they think that they could just use me for extermination bacon. And Munoz Zaba has these videos of her pointing at her mouth like, we poisoned you in the mouth. These are people who claim that the whole thing was that Zell. Well, the truth is, that Zell said to me, "What would you think of a scheme to transform the human race by injecting the blood before AIDS happened?" And all the supporting evidence weighs very heavily that these people were behind these attacks. And of course, the Beatles were lampooning the situation with Zappa, giving sort of like, if as long as you just lampoon that it was the CIA, that's permissible. While they were poisoning people for fun, and they want to sell that it's protest. Diamond de Gaulle was in the anthrax lady standing with the stiletto outside the World Trade Center. Friend Kim Kardashian was in immunogenetics and Satanism back in the 70s, and her namesake calls me to announce Lenin's little plan while I was living with the director of Afghan military operations for Obama, who was just in college at the time. Of course, he's been headhunting. Anytime he wants to twist his ankle, and whoops, there goes another Kennedy.